we agreed to accelerate our military planning. I can confirm that along with France, the UK will lead a multinational mission to protect freedom of navigation as soon as conditions allow. This will be strictly peaceful and defensive as a mission to reassure commercial shipping and support mine clearance. We invite all nations with an interest in the free flow of global trade to join us. Some have already indicated their readiness to contribute. We will take this forward with a military planning conference in London next week, where we will announce more detail on the composition of the mission, and over a dozen countries have already offered to contribute assets. But look, reopening the Strait is a global necessity and a global responsibility. We need to act to get global energy and trade flowing freely again.
Keir Starmer has spent the last few days trying his hardest to look like a global heavyweight on the world stage, but the American people and the British public see right through the act. It is honestly hilarious to watch a man with such little charisma and even less backbone try to insert himself into the middle of a massive conflict involving Iran. While the world is looking for real strength and decisive action, Starmer is busy posing for cameras and releasing carefully worded statements that mean absolutely nothing. He is pretending to be a leader during a time of war, but he is nothing more than a career politician playing dress up in a suit that is far too big for him. When you look at what is happening in the Middle East, you realize how much the world misses the clear, unapologetic leadership of a true patriot like Donald Trump. Under Trump, the enemies of freedom knew exactly where America stood. There was no guessing, no stuttering, and certainly no pretending. Trump put America first and, in doing so, created a more stable world because people respected strength. Now, we are forced to watch as characters like Starmer try to fill that void with empty rhetoric. Starmer's attempt to troll his way into the conversation about Iran is not just embarrassing, it is dangerous. He thinks that by standing in front of a flag and talking about international law, he is somehow influencing the outcome of a centuries-old religious and political conflict. The truth is that Starmer is terrified of actually making a decision. He wants the prestige of being a world leader without the courage required to protect his own borders or stand up for his own people. While he is busy worrying about what the elites in Brussels or the bureaucrats at the United Nations think about his stance on Iran, his own country is facing a massive identity crisis. This is a classic move by the radical left. When things are falling apart at home, they try to distract everyone by acting like they are the moral arbiters of the world. But the joke is on him. The internet has been ruthless, and rightfully so, pointing out that Starmer looks like a substitute teacher trying to control a room full of rowdy students. He has no authority, no presence, and no plan. Americans watching this unfold are reminded of why we must keep our own country strong and independent. We cannot rely on these weak European leaders who are more concerned with feelings than with facts. Starmer talks about de-escalation and diplomacy as if Iran cares about those things. He lives in a fantasy world where a stern letter from a British Prime Minister can stop a missile. Real leaders understand that peace comes through strength, not through pretending to be important at a press conference. The contrast between Starmer's performative leadership and the bold, America First approach we know works is staggering. Starmer wants to be part of the cool kids club on the global stage, but he is just a shadow of the great leaders of the past who actually understood what it meant to defend Western civilization. The mockery directed at Starmer isn't just about his lack of personality. It's about the total failure of the globalist ideology he represents. People are tired of being told that these polished politicians know what is best for us. We see a man who cannot even define what a woman is trying to tell us how to handle a war with Iran. It is a comedy of errors. The more he tries to look tough, the more he looks like a caricature of a leader. He is a man who follows the wind, shifting his positions whenever the polls tell him to, yet he expects the world to take him seriously when he speaks about military action and global security.
He also is trying to give President Trump advice about how to conduct the war. That's a little bit like seeking the advice of a nun about sex. Sir Keir Starmer is the last person you would want to go to advise you about how to have a military confrontation.
In the United States, we recognize this pattern all too well. We have seen the British people deserve someone who will fight for them, not someone who uses a global crisis as a backdrop for a PR campaign. Every time he opens his mouth to talk about the Middle East, he proves that he is out of his depth. He is a small man trying to play a big game, and the results are predictable. The irony of the situation is that Starmer's pretending actually makes the situation worse. By offering weak and confused signals, he creates an environment where conflict is more likely, not less. Strength is the only language that regimes like the one in Tehran understand. When Starmer goes on television to offer his measured response, he is essentially signaling that the West is divided and hesitant. We understand that you don't negotiate from a position of pretending. You negotiate from a position of undeniable power. The irony of the situation is that Starmer's pretending actually makes the situation worse. By offering weak and confused signals, he creates an environment where conflict is more likely, not less. Strength is the only language that regimes like the one in Tehran understand. When Starmer goes on television to offer his measured response, he is essentially signaling that the West is divided and hesitant. We understand that you don't negotiate from a position of pretending. You negotiate from a position of undeniable power. As the memes and the jokes continue to pile up at Starmer's expense, it serves as a wake-up call for everyone who values freedom. We cannot let our nations be led by people who are more interested in their image than in the truth. Starmer's attempt to play the hero in the Iran narrative is a failure of epic proportions. He isn't a leader. He is an actor who forgot his lines and is now trying to improvise while the audience laughs. America needs to stay focused on its own strength and remember that we are the leaders of the free world, not because of empty speeches, but because we are willing to do what is necessary to protect our way of life.
What is the purpose of your visit here in the Gulf? What kind of influence do you think you can have?
Well, we've just reached this ceasefire, which is both welcome, and I think there'll be a sense of real relief. There certainly is across the region and for the United Kingdom. But there's work to do, and I'm here in Saudi Arabia.
Ultimately, Keir Starmer will go down in history as another one of those politicians who thought they were much more important than they actually were. His trolling by the public is a sign that people are finally waking up to the nonsense. They want real results, real security, and real leaders. They want the kind of leadership that puts the flag first and doesn't apologize for it. Until that happens in the UK, Starmer will continue to be a punchline in a very serious world. We will keep standing for America, keep standing for the truth, and keep laughing at the pretenders who think they can lead us into the future without a shred of genuine conviction. The world is watching, and it is clear who the real leaders are and who is just playing a part for the cameras.
We spend trillions and trillions of dollars on NATO, and when I asked them to get involved on a much smaller situation, which is Hormuz and Iran, they weren't there for us. Remember what I said. They weren't there. None of them. They weren't there. So we were there on Ukraine. I mean, we shouldn't have been. It would have never happened if I were president. But nevertheless, when they've had problems over the years, we were there. When we asked them to get involved on a very minor skirmish by comparison to what it could be, they weren't there. So I don't think they'd be there for a large skirmish, and therefore I think they've got themselves a problem.